Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through the sources, find the key insights, and, well, basically give you that shortcut to being properly informed. Today, we're taking a really fascinating plunge into some extreme engineering. We're looking at a watch many see as a landmark, the IWC GST Aquatimer 2000, specifically the Ref 3536. Our mission here, our deep dive, is to unpack why this particular watch from the late 90s became more than just capable, why it's seen as a benchmark for serious underwater timekeeping. How did IWC manage it? What was the design thinking behind it?
Yeah, it's a great focus. By the late 1990s, IWC, they'd already really mastered making watches for extreme conditions. So the 3536 wasn't just another watch. It was really a culmination of all that know-how, purpose-built for civilian deep-sea use, pushing the boundaries of what a mechanical diver could be.
Okay, so let's kick things off with its core identity. Launched in 1998, part of the GST line, gold, steel, titanium, that's what GST stood for. But beyond just the materials, what was the design ethos here? What were they aiming for?
Well, the 3536 was just pure late 90s IWC design. Functional modernism, you could call it.
Yeah.
At a time when, lots of brands were adding complexity, more flashy details, IWC went the other way with this one. It was defiant. It wasn't just minimalist. It was this philosophy of extreme functional reduction. Every single bit had a purpose, no excess, all about performance. And the insight, I think, is that by being so ruthless about function for extreme use, they ended up creating something that felt incredibly purposeful and ultimately more timeless than maybe some flashier watches of the period.
That's interesting. Uncompromising nature. Could you give an example? How did that philosophy lead to maybe an unusual choice back then, but one that really proved itself? Because the really standout feature, the headline grabber, was that 2,000-meter water resistance. I mean, that's extraordinary depth, even today for a mechanical watch. How on earth did they engineer that almost 3 decades ago?
Absolutely.
Right.
And that performance, it came from incredibly careful, almost obsessive engineering. You start with the case itself, really robust, 42 millimeters, about 14 mil thick, available in steel or titanium. But it wasn't just size, it was the reinforced architecture of the case, a really thick screw-down back, and crucially, a screw-in crown with multiple gaskets, all designed for an absolutely tight seal.
Like a tiny vault.
Exactly. And they even built in crown guards to protect it from knocks. What's so fascinating is how all those pieces work together, like a miniature submarine on your wrist, basically. That's how you get that extreme pressure resistance.
A fortress on the wrist, sounds like it.
Right.
But what's the real point of 2,000 meters for a civilian deep-sea exploration watch? Is that about, actual saturation diving, or is it more about just massive engineering headroom, peace of mind? And, okay, it can survive the pressure, but how usable was it? Legibility, handling, those are critical for a dive watch. How did they tackle the bezel and the dial?
Well, 2,000 meters definitely gives you incredible headroom. You're right. Very few civilian divers would go near that. But it speaks volumes about the watch's absolute reliability, its toughness under any pressure you could imagine. And as for usability, the unidirectional bezel on the 3536 is a perfect example of that functional design. It had this really precise ratcheting mechanism. You got these incredibly sharp tactile clicks. And that wasn't just for feel, it was vital. It stopped any accidental over-rotation, which, is critical for safety when you're timing a dive. Timing is everything down there.
Yeah, it's easy to gloss over that, but 50 meters down, maybe poor visibility. That sharp click isn't just nice design, it's potentially a lifesaver. Really underlines their focus. But what about the dial? Because in those low light, deep conditions, seeing the time instantly isn't just important, it's absolutely crucial.
Indeed. And the dial was engineered specifically for that instantaneous legibility, even in the darkest deep-sea conditions. You had large luminous hour markers, broad hands filled with superluminova, all standing out really clearly against a matte black background. Minimal reflection. They even put in a date window at 3 o'clock, but kept it pretty discreet so it wouldn't clutter things up. Maintained that focus on just reading the time fast. If you connect that back, it just reinforces that commitment again. Pure function over decoration. A very, very disciplined design approach.
Right, makes sense. Of course, a watch built for this kind of extreme use isn't just the case and dial. What about the engine inside? What was powering this beast?
Inside, you had the IWC caliber 37524. Now, this movement was based on a real legend, the ETA 2892 Day 2, a proper industry workhorse known for being super reliable, very accurate. It ran at 28,800 vibrations per hour, that's 8 beats a second, helps with the smooth seconds, hand sweep, and precision, and it gave you a decent 42-hour power reserve. Very practical.
So let's pull all these threads together. What does it all mean for its place in watch history? How did these technical specs, these design choices, cement the 3536's reputation as Well, an icon, a benchmark.
Well, the IWC GST Aquatimer 2000, the ref, 3536, it became a benchmark because it did something profound, I think. It sort of redefined what luxury could mean in a tool watch. It combined that extreme depth rating, the meticulous engineering, with this incredibly understated, almost stark design. It made it one of the most uncompromising aquatimers IWC ever built. It really proved that extreme reliability and elegant, purposeful design built to handle the impossible could be the ultimate form of sophistication in itself. It showed the whole industry, really, that less decoration and more pure engineering could create a lasting icon, command huge respect. And that's why, fundamentally, it's still a standard that serious dive watches get measured against today. Which does raise an interesting question, doesn't it? Why do certain designs like this, so focused, just stand the test of time and become true icons?
That is a powerful thought. So for you listening, maybe next time you look at a piece of great design or engineering, think about this IWC Aquatimer 2000. Remember its incredible depth rating, sure, but also the deep thought behind the case. The crown, the bezel, that super legible dial. Consider what stripping away the excess really means when you're chasing peak performance, and how sometimes that's the path to making something truly iconic.
Yeah, and maybe take that thought a step further. Think about how the constraints you face in extreme environments, like exploring the deep sea, can actually drive innovation. Innovation that sets new standards, not just for the specialized gear itself, but maybe for design philosophy more broadly, a philosophy that often finds real beauty in just pure, unadulterated function.